TGIF. Happy Friday. Can you believe it? It's February. That is insane to me. Today, we're going to talk about housing inventory was, I think, some pretty cool charts. Some that actually surprised me. So let's see if they surprise you, huh? So in short, let's talk rates real fast. Kind of the same, sitting there right at 7% even, according to Mortgage News Daily. You see this chart the last week, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. We've kind of been flat. We had a really good Wednesday. Yesterday, meh. And then Friday, today, we gave it all back with the job reports. We've really just kind of been moving sideways. Again, that blue 200-day moving average, it's just tough. Even when you break above it, you got to stay above it to really make some meaningful gains. And we hit that purple 100-day moving average. So we got both the 100 and 200-day moving averages really, really tough. The good news, the 50-day moving average is below us. So that adds some support. The 25-day, the brown line, you can see it's starting to trend in a positive manner. So we're kind of sitting in this narrow range. Next week will be inflation numbers. We'll see if that breaks us out of this, but time will tell. I do think the inflation numbers, which we'll talk about in a second, could help us. Today, the job reports came out, and the reason why we got beat up a little bit is the headline number, meaning like what you see on the surface looks like things are going really well. Unemployment fell from 4.1 to 4.0. So now unemployment's at 4%. There is a quote 143,000 jobs created, but that is seasonally adjusted. So not seasonally adjusted, meaning like the number that you would use is minus 2.85 million jobs, meaning 2.8 million people lost their jobs. So it's almost a $3 million or 3 million headcount swing as far as job reports. So if you start digging into it, it really wasn't as good as what it said. You know, another part that's trying to spook the markets is the average hourly earnings went up, but the reality is the hours worked went down. So it's one of those things where ultimately they're your weekly earnings. What you bring home is kind of a net wash. So it's, again, I think it'll take a minute for the market to digest it, but there you go. That's why rates are kind of just hanging sideways right now. So here's the first start. We got about 5 or 6 of these real quick, but today's a big day on graphs and housing market, things of that nature. What I want you to notice on the chart on the right, 2024, the dark, thick red, you can see the months of supply at the end of last year was less than 3.5 months, and that's across the country. And the important part I want to make about this is, air quotes, a normal, healthy market is still, in theory, stable is under 6 months. I would say normal is probably 4 months or under. And you guys can see for the last 7 years, we're still in a really good part, a really good, kind of the meat and potatoes of where most of those numbered averages are going to come up. Certainly, you had the brown, which was COVID, right? And you had the blue, which was COVID. The month of supply was like nothing because houses were flying off the shelf. But for the most part, we're right there in terms of month of supply. So I want you to remember this chart because as we go through the next few slides, you're going to be, oh man, there's a housing crash coming. That's not what I'm saying, but you're going to see that it does look like that based on what I'm about to show you. So as far as home sales, pending home sales, there was a drop in December. It's about 5% drop year over year. They use the words like the last bullet point here. Existing homes are surging, right? In Florida, Texas, South and Southwest. We'll look at that. So guys, here's the South, right? Where Texas is. This is new single family homes for sale. And you look at this, you're like, OMG, we are at record levels. We're beating even the mortgage meltdown era of the 2006, 2007 timeline. One thing to remember, we have a lot more people in this country now than we did, close to 20 years ago, right? 18 years ago, we got a lot more people in the country. The millennials are coming of age. They're the home buyers. So yes, there are new homes being built right now, but there's still overall a housing shortage. While this looks scary, I understand that. Remember that housing supply, we're right there in the sweet spot of where we want to be. But here's the other thing. Look on the left. The graph on the left shows the, taking into consideration that number, these are all the homes, the newly built homes that are for sale. This is all stages of construction, meaning if there's a piece of dirt, it's listed if the builders are trying to sell it. On the right-hand side, and I made it offset a little so it's not just the same graph getting continued, this is the completed number of homes. Look how much lower. So while there's all this quote-unquote inventory out there, as far as homes that you can actually move into and buy right now and like move into, we're still really low compared to really far away from what those peak levels were back in 06. And again, remember, this is a lot more people. This is 18-year-old data that we're comparing it to. There's a lot more people in today's world that are trying to buy homes. This is the part that, the big drop that we all know and feel. If we're in the industry, we feel it, right? The pending home sales. So the all-time low, blue line, and they say all-time based on this chart, right? But check out, there's not a lot of homes compared to, years past as far as what's average and normal. If you look kind of where the bulk of the data comes, it's somewhere between, let's say, 95 and 115, and we're sitting down there at 75 million or whatever this is. So it's all this to say, yes, there's not a lot of transactions. Yes, there are more homes being built. But again, that first graph I showed you is the month of supply. We're still good. These are the active listings in Texas. So these are existing homes, not new construction, but existing homes. You see, going back to 2017, we're still kind of right in that sweet spot. Again, you'll notice that 2021, 2022, again, COVID era, not a lot of folks were listing their homes, which is part of the reason why the prices went up, because supply and demand kicks in. But I'd say overall, we're kind of sitting right there in the same 2007 or 2017 to 2020 pre-pandemic. We're kind of getting right at those levels. Yes, we had a little bit excess last year as far as active listings, but again, we saw that because the pending home sales are down. That's to be expected, right? Just less people are buying right now. The PCE, I'm not going to go into this right now because the real report's coming out next week, but this is just to let you know that I think next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, we've been saying this for about 4 months. We thought the February would be the start of seeing some lower inflation. A lot of that's got to do with shelter. So we'll cover more of that later. And I've had a lot of folks asking me about the tariffs. Good news for them being delayed. We get more. Canada is the biggest importer of our lumber. And then with all the fires in California, the stuff that, the hurricanes in Florida, like lumber is a big deal. So the fact that we were going to put tariffs on there would have been very inflationary. Lumber costs was supposedly could have doubled, which would not have been good. So ultimately, so far so good. We don't want that inflation. We don't want to make housing more expensive. So now the fun stuff, guys. Let's get into it. If the clicker thingy will work. If not, we'll go to the old school way of doing this. We'll go down to the slide and do it again. All right, so let's go back to slideshow. Tom Brady trying to sell his Florida mansion for $150 million. And if you look at it on the right, I'm like, that's pretty sweet. But it would be a record or getting close to it for Miami, I guess. And Indian Creek, apparently Jeff Bezos paid $230 million for his purchase. I think we covered that a few weeks back, which is nuts to me. The state with the richest homeowners, congratulations, Vermont. Super pretty. Love Vermont. Been all up and down the state many moons ago. But the reality is apparently 87% of them are equity rich, meaning they own more than 50% of their home, which is crazy. So I don't know if that's a combination of just people move and don't move away and just live in the same house. I don't know if it's just, COVID obviously helped. And apparently over 50% of those homeowners have rates below 4%. So that is crazy to me, but good for you, Vermont. Lastly, and this is so true. If you're in the business, and Dumb and Dumber, what a great movie. When I overhear someone talking about mortgages, it is so true. Even my kids, I got them programmed to listen to. As usual, follow us, forward, share, subscribe. We appreciate you watching. As always, certainly let us know if you have any comments or questions about what's just going on. But we will see you next week. But so far, kind of a boring week, but I thought those are some good graphs. So we'll be back next week and hope you have a great weekend.